Hey guys, hope you're having an amazing day and welcome to another video. And today I'm excited to have one of the most requested product reviews from the community. This is the AINAVI X6 13.1-inch Android head unit. So let's get into it, shall we? Just when I thought my journey for Android Auto had ended for my notorious 2020 Toyota Corolla, there's always something surprising that takes me beyond that scope of reality. Having something that essentially replaces the heart of my daily ride to something that has forever changed the way I now drive. An increased number of North American car manufacturers are slowly following the demand for a more focused digital center console. They're now just realizing how far ahead the Asian market is, where these amazing infotainment experiences are quite commonplace. Yet they treat the most basic features as a premium for us Canadian customers to spend an extra couple more grand, perhaps to upsell their luxury model. Unfortunately, a lot of times they fall flat on expectations. Now I love this article from The Drive. Consumer Reports surveyed their 73,000 members and found that both CarPlay and Android Auto users were more satisfied with their infotainment experiences than those using their native car interfaces. The article reads, "A common complaint for many is how native UX systems still feel 3 or 4 generations behind what's mirrored through Apple and Android. And 79% of new car buyers will make a decision on a new car based on the infotainment system alone." Now, if you remember at the end of my AINAVI H5 H6 review, I mentioned my Corolla felt more complete with the AINAVI head unit than that other piece of work Toyota has given us. AINAVI's newest 13.1-inch flagship X series takes it a step further towards the premium side, making my average Corolla feel like a cross between a Lexus and a Tesla, drawing from that inspiration of a strikingly large QLED screen. It transforms your existing car into something more than simple stereo and navigation, but also rather an integral hub connecting you and everything you need at the wheel. Now, if you're new to the Android head unit scene, you may want to check out my previous reviews for a more complete introduction as to why aftermarket Asian Android head units are becoming more and more popular here in North America. This channel has grown quite a large AINAVI following as I've become such a fan myself. After having some great conversations with the AINAVI team, they've graciously provided the X6 to review for you guys. And as you all know, I'm quite honest in my opinions, and my reviews will always reflect that. So who is AINAVI? In my H5 H6 video, I really didn't get a chance to know them until I recently had a great introduction by their team. The AINAVI brand is no stranger in the car accessories industry, most notably specializing in replacement Android car head units since 2010. What sets them apart from big brand names is their focus towards customization, that is, manufacturing units that custom fit your specific vehicle. A quick search on AliExpress and you'll see them dominating the Asian market with amazing global reviews and winning innovative awards. It's only recently they've opened up their products to the international market, some under the names of AINAVITO and AINAVI Go, which are more dedicated to the North American market. They also have another brand called Seventor, specializing in car audio, such as their new subwoofers, which I definitely want to do reviews of later. So the package arrived directly from their warehouse in China. Shipping time took roughly about a week and a half to Canada. It's all wrapped in heavy plastic, similar to my previous H5 package. If you order from AliExpress, it would be quite consistent for that matter. Speaking of which, I do recommend going through their official AliExpress store, as they offer more consumer protection and the preferred courier for your country. As you can see, scissors would have been a better choice here, as I completely botched the unwrapping, trying to avoid damaging the box for you guys. Now obviously the box has a few dings in it. I would have preferred a box within a box treatment, as this is one of the small improvements I like to see stepped up in all Asian manufacturers in their efforts of expanding globally. However, in this case, rest assured you'll see everything is internally encapsulated with foam protection, which is always a definite plus. As before with the H5, I do like their simple design of their packaging, which is all AINAVI branded, with that consistent feel of a customer-focused product. It has all the correct markings and industry certification logos on the bottom. Very professional. And like I've said many times before, marketing is always a positive thing to see, which really shows the caring and investment in the products they sell, giving me the confidence I've made the right buying decision, especially on a high-ticketed item. Now, I'm actually quite surprised how compact this box is in comparison to another review I previously made. I know it's not the size that's specific to the X6, as each AINAVI order is custom depending on the model and included trim of the customer's vehicle. The Corolla trim is probably as slim as any. It really comes down to the contents inside for your vehicle, prepared by the AINAVI order fulfillment team. So like I said, the inside is well protected by thick foam. Everything seems to look nicely packed in there. And right out of the box, here is the all-important power and CANBUS cable that connects specifically to your car. And for those who watch my videos, you know I'll definitely have more to say about this later. As expected, here is the big bag of adapters and cables that will connect to the back of the AINAVI X6. Now, not all these plugs have to be connected depending on your use. I'll have a breakdown of what each of these are later in this video. AINAVI has included a simple 2-pager document, which I think is an equivalent to a quick start guide. There are specific instructions for my Corolla. These pages may differ for your vehicle. Now, this is the custom trim AINAVI included that specifically fits my 2020 Corolla, mounting the X6 directly to my dashboard. And this is why companies like AINAVI truly stand out from all the other big brand names, as they make everything look so seamless and tailor-fit to your car model. And finally, here is the AINAVI X6. And I must say, it certainly is quality. Actually, way better than I expected in person. This thing is so solid, I was kind of taken back with the sheer weight of it. You can see I had to rest my hand. The large 13-inch screen is definitely obvious, but there's more to it than its size. On the back is truly a work of art. AINAVI really outdone themselves on the X6 with that cold, anodized backplate. The AINAVI logos and decals look so awesome. I'm glad they took the time to customize the look. There's even a built-in mini fan, which I didn't get with my H5. The side profile of the X6 is really impressive. It's actually quite thin. You can easily compare it to a high-end tablet. The slim profile of the back plate will allow us a lot more room inside the car's center console to hide our wires easily when we get to the install. This compact design also means it'll get internally hotter, which makes sense for the fan to allow the temperature to become more manageable. The detail on the edging is laser sharp. I'm truly blown away at the look. Now, this is seriously funny. I had to take a closer look, as I couldn't believe that the whole back side is metal, instead of the usual plastic I find in most units. The logo feels embossed, so it had to be. The surface has a cold magnesium feel to it, and there's absolutely no flex in the unit. I love it. The latches that mount to the trim is also surprisingly metallic. I can say that the X6 is truly the most premium unit I've ever reviewed to date. The screen comes with a protective film, which is best to be removed after the install. There are no physical touch buttons that I can see, so it could go either way for me depending on how easy the navigation is, so I'll reserve my judgment here. I always prefer having a few buttons somewhere just for quicker access. We have what I think is our reset and internal microphone on the left side. The hardware itself is certified in compliance to many of the global industry standards for safety and operation, which you should always make a habit to look for, especially when integrating any electronics into your car, not to mention from an insurance point of view. As for the specs, the AINAVI X6 bolsters a massive 13.1-inch high-definition QLED screen. at a very impressive 1920 by 1200 pixels, producing vivid colors and clarity. I'd say it easily dwarfs most typical head units in the market. The screen is also manufactured with the new bonded layer technology, where the glass is fully laminated to the point of reducing light refraction, resulting in much nicer, deeper blacks, much like premium-made tablets you see today. At the heart of the X6 is a fast Qualcomm Snapdragon 665 with 8 cores running up to 2 GHz. AINAVI has 2 configurations of the X6. This one I'm reviewing has 8 GB of memory and 256 GB of storage. If you're a heavy multitasker running a lot of media, apps, and games, this configuration will suit you best for a smoother experience. AINAVI's X6 also features a full digital theater system for your car with an upgraded surround sound processor in this generation. This features an adjustable 48 frequency EQ and many hookups for an external amplifier, giving us total customization when it comes to music and entertainment. Of course, as of this video, the X6 runs on the newest Android OS, utilizing their sleek and familiar AINAVI 5.0 UI launcher that also looks like an update from the H5. And yes, it definitely features wireless Android Auto and wireless CarPlay. The first sheet explains how to set the X6's CANBUS for the Corolla or RAV4. Seems like they're both similar to be included together like this. On the back are instructions for the lower spec model, the X5, so make sure you're looking at the correct side. And of course you'll get a different sheet depending on what car you have. Now in my previous experience, AINAVI does pre-configure your unit before it ships out, so we'll see if we actually need to follow these instructions or not. The X6 can also use your car's factory reverse camera without installing a new one, which is great, so we'll need to make sure we apply these settings later. The second sheet contains port diagrams for each of the CPU variants. It's interesting how they all have different layouts. The X6 is of course the Qualcomm 665, with all the bells and whistles. This sheet will definitely come in handy for when we need to connect our cables. The 4-core series, I assume, is the X5 or lower, so we won't need to look at that. The pinouts for the power plug port is labeled here, in case you have other accessories you may need to splice with in the future. Now this is the CANBUS power cable, and is one of the things that make AINAVI so special. Typically, a lot of generic Android head units require you to go out and find your own way to solder each data wire to the correct connector. Not only that it's extremely hard to do, but it's just so tedious and time-consuming. Here, this is no longer the case. AINAVI not only creates their own adapter for your specific car, it's also included with the X6, making the connection between your unit and your car essentially plug and play. So I give AINAVI huge respect as each order is customized to the vehicle, and just think how many variations they would have to make for each model and year. This is the CANBUS decoder, which essentially communicates between the X6 and your car's onboard data. Here it's a Highworld brand decoder. Make sure it's securely fastened to the connector, as I found these to be easily dislodged while in the packaging. Also included is this USB adapter, which can utilize the existing USB port on my Corolla dashboard, keeping everything functional like factory. This cable has various inputs and outputs. Most are in the form of female RCA plugs. If you're overwhelmed by the amount of cables, don't worry. Again, most are optional, and not all of these need to be plugged into. Now, the only long cable here is the SIM card module that can be extended out to somewhere like the glove compartment. We have one video out, a video in, another composite video in, an external subwoofer, audio out for left, and audio out for right, auxiliary audio in for left and right, a wire for an amp, the power connector for the fan, And finally, an external microphone jack. The X6 is pretty much its own mobile device. As mentioned, if you wanted to add a SIM card, you can insert one in here. It uses a legacy SIM card format, so you may need to use a SIM adapter to fit the older sized slot. The X6 supports many global network bands up to 4G, so check with your mobile network to see if yours is supported. If you want to use your car's factory reverse camera, this is the rear camera input that connects the video carried through the CANBUS power cable. We have one of the two USB adapter cables that is long enough to hide somewhere, like in your glove compartment. You can connect a USB flash drive to transfer files or expand your storage. Here's the other USB adapter that fits on the head unit's 4-pin plug. Just note, if you intend to use your existing USB port on your dashboard, you'll have to replace this one with the previous USB extension cable I mentioned that connects directly to the plug on your car's harness. The X6 includes an enhanced GPS module, which will allow your unit to acquire geo-satellites for various apps like Google Maps and other important speed distance calculations. I'll be placing this around the windshield of my Corolla for the most optimum signal. The back includes some automotive adhesive if you wanted to mount it directly to the glass. Now for those new to the technology, GPS service is free to use. It's only when you have to transfer positioning data from your car to somewhere remote using tracking software. This is where you need to pay for internet or SMS service through a separate SIM card. It's basically how old school GPS trackers operate to monitor real-time information. Since the X6 does have SIM card functionality at its core, you can use various GPS tracker apps for your car if you like. This is the Wi-Fi and Bluetooth antenna, which can swivel around when mounted. It's best to make sure it's securely tight and positioned, as the cause for most weak signals or disconnects happens during the install, where it may become loose. Again, if you're using a SIM card, here are the 4G antennas that will acquire those cell phone signals. I'll be placing them around the windshield, just like the GPS module. Now they also do have automotive adhesive on the back, which you'll have to be careful as they're super strong. I recommend peeling back some small portions if you intend to stick it anywhere. Finally, we have the external microphone. I'll be very curious to hear the X6's call quality, as Android units in general are infamously hit and misses. For mounting, it does have adhesive on the bottom. AINAVI does include another piece where you can clip the microphone somewhere instead. I'll be sure to mount it somewhere towards the driver area. The trim AINAVI includes is again specific for your car model. You rarely encounter a company that specializes in creating custom products for your particular vehicle, so points go to the AINAVI team for differentiating themselves in the market. When ordering, you can send in a photo of your factory trim to their sales team, and they'll be happy to confirm which trim will fit yours. In my case, the Corolla has two trim models. This is the North American one that fits my 2020 Toyota Corolla. There are plastic OEM mounting clips that will have to be transferred to this one. It's actually very similar to my Decita G13 trim, so the installation this time will hopefully be a breeze. Now there are latches on the back of the X6 that snaps into this by pushing the unit in and downwards with a bit of force. You'll definitely see later. So before we start crowding this whole area with our wires, I'd like to point out a few interesting things here. As I mentioned, the metal backplate is a beautifully anodized teal. The whole entire backside is made out of metal, which feels quite premium, and it should help disperse any heating issues as it acts as one large heatsink. The ultimate test will be in the summer. This heavy die-cast and laser-precise decals are an awesome treat. I love seeing this customization from AINAVI, which really pops to my eyes. The whole unit is protected by a 10-amp fuse, which is replaceable in an event there's a power surge. We have an HDMI out port, which is great if you have an external screen in the back seat. You'd definitely be able to mirror things like games and movies on there. I believe AINAVI does have a back seat product available if you wish to check that out. Again, the cooling fan is a wonderful addition to the X6. Here we have a new coaxial port for audio out, which I've never seen before. And in this corner, we have a digital optical audio out. So there's tons of options for an external sound system to be hooked up here. I'll start by showing you exactly how I'll be hooking up the cables and adapters to the AINAVI X6 before taking it to the 2020 Corolla. It's not in any particular order, but just so you guys get a clearer view here in the video. The Wi-Fi Bluetooth antenna goes here. Make sure it's down tight. Here's the GPS module. Now, if you're planning to use a SIM card in the unit, like I am, both 4G antennas are connected here and here. This is the factory reverse camera cable. The 6-pin external USB cable goes here. Now you can either use the other 4-pin external USB cable or use the 4-pin USB adapter, which allows the existing factory USB port on the dashboard to be connected. And I'll be doing it this way so I don't waste that port. Now the all-important CANBUS power cable goes straight in here. And once seated, we'll want to do 3 things here. First, take this white data wire coming out of the CANBUS decoder and plug it into this 8-pin port here. Second, if we are to use the factory reverse camera, we'll need to take this male RCA plug labeled CAM-VIN and connect it to the female RCA video plug here. Third, this black plug carrying your car's radio antenna will go straight into the circular port down here. This 12-pin port is actually undocumented unless you order AINAVI's 360 view camera system, which they do carry in their lineup, so check it out if you're interested. Those who have always followed me should remember I've previously installed an aftermarket 360 view camera system for the AINAVI H5 H6 Android head unit in my Corolla. So if you haven't seen that one yet, make sure you watch that insane video. I'll link to it in the description box. Finally, we'll plug this input-output adapter that carries our SIM card, which again is optional. We'll connect the fan on the X6 to the fan power plug, and insert the external microphone plug into the microphone jack. So this is pretty much how I'm going to install the AINAVI X6. Since we have to fish some wires through the car's dashboard first, I'm going to disconnect the external microphone, 4G antennas, and the GPS module now, and reconnect them later when everything is at my car's center console. I highly recommend going over and double checking the wires, pushing down on all the plugs, making sure that they're all fully seated, since from experience, this is typically the source for most common headaches. So we're finally now ready to head on over for the installation of the AINAVI X6 unit. If you subscribed, you know that my OEM factory unit broke a few years ago, which led me to install the H5 H6. There are about 96% of you who've missed my previous updates. I do hope to earn your subscription one day, so if today's the day, please hit that button, as it helps me create more content like this for you guys. Now, I'll be reusing some of the previous footage here, but if you haven't seen my AINAVI H5 H6 video, I suggest you check it out to get the full details on how to remove the OEM unit from the notorious 2020 Toyota Corolla. Start by removing the frame off with your fingers. The quickest way to pull the climate control out is by force with both hands. Unclip both plugs. You'll need a 10mm socket to unscrew the unit from both sides. Finally, you can pull out the OEM unit with a bit of force. Unclip all the plugs from the car. We can then pull out the hood. On the back, we'll need to take off the red plastic clips. Then transfer them to the new trim for the X6. They should just snap on. Okay, so here's where the fun begins. This is what the empty center console looks like with just the car harness left and a few cables from my other head unit installs. I suggest we first install the GPS module, 4G antennas, and the external microphone to get those out of the way. We'll start by removing the glove compartment, as I like to wire everything behind it, as it conveniently hides a lot of my cabling. This gives us a lot of room to fish the wires down through the dashboard and up to the center console. Using a large trim tool, we can pry the plastic A-pillar trim outwards. Then carefully wiggle it away. Here's what the exposed passenger A-pillar looks like. Note where the airbag is. You never want to put anything in front of it, so it's best that we try to avoid the area with our cabling. As you can see, I still have all my extra cables and modules for other Android head units, so just pretend they're not there. But you can see where I fished them down at, and there's actually plenty of room on the side to hide things in. To speed things up, I like to fish one wire down from the top. The daylight makes it much easier to see from below. Once through to the bottom, I'll take some electrical tape and tape the other connectors to that wire and pull them through together. Be careful not to force it, as you don't want it to snag on anything like another car wire. Now would be a good time as any to use some small zip ties and organize your wires. I like to tighten to the point where they can slide around if ever you needed to adjust them. And you might also want to zip tie them somewhere afterwards so that they don't rattle around when you drive. You definitely have the advantage if you have small hands. We can simply attach the external microphone anywhere. I'll usually hide most of the extra wire inside the headliner by literally stuffing it in. This lets us have some playroom if we ever needed to reposition the microphone later. Now remember what I said about wiring away from the airbag. I'll follow this bundle of wire down behind it, using some electrical tape to secure it. Finally, I like to loosely throw the 4G antennas and the GPS module to the front, making sure it gets a clear view of the sky. So back in the Corolla, we need to feed the wires through the AINAVI trim. But at this point I remembered back with my Toyota G13 install, I'd slightly scratched the trim plate when I was mounting the unit. To prevent this from happening again, I'll be using painter's tape to protect the face till after I install the X6. We can take two of the original mounting bolts, and very loosely screw it in on each side for now. We'll finally bring in the X6. I'm using one of the foam protectors from the box as a cushion to lay the unit down above it. The SIM card and external USB cable will need to be fished down temporarily towards the open glove compartment area, making sure we can reach both wires after we mount the unit. Now we can go ahead and start connecting the cables from the car harness to the CANBUS power cable. For the Corolla, the plugs here uniquely fit one way, so you can't really screw up here. Just make sure they're seated firmly in. Finally, we can go ahead and plug in the GPS module, 4G antennas, and the external microphone. Make sure they're screwed in tightly, especially the Wi-Fi and GPS antenna. I'll be leaving out the 360 view camera hookups for now, just to test and review the factory reverse camera for you guys. Now we'll need to put things together. Loosely detach the plastic trim from the car mount. We'll need to individually snap in pieces of the climate console in order. First will be the vents. making sure you clear any wires behind, dangling in the way. Second will be the trim for the X6. And third will be the climate control piece. At this point, don't forget to tighten the bolts now on the trim before we mount the X6. We can pick up and turn the unit around to carefully install it flat against the trim. Now ideally, it does help to have two people here to connect the cables straight to the back like this, because when we turn the unit, there'll be some torque on the wires inside, so be careful which way you turn. As it rests on the plastic trim, we can now remove our protective tape. Finally, we can give the X6 a bit of a push downwards to lock it in. It's a bit easier one side at a time. And we are done, guys. Hey guys, I will not deprive you of this moment. That's beautiful. Oh my gosh. This is absolutely insane. Alright guys, this has been quite a detailed install. I'm gonna save everything else for the next episode. Don't forget we still need to reposition our SIM card and extra USB cable. I found that the wire wasn't long enough to hide inside the glove box, so I left it hanging underneath for now. Make sure you tune in next time for my complete review and final thoughts on the AINAVI X6. Links to everything in the series will be found in the description, so check it out. If you like this video, make sure you hit that like button. Comment below, I would love to hear from you. And if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing to this humble YouTube channel. Alright, cheers.